Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what time zone that you're in. I have seen Yeshua Taylor on Twitter tweeting things that I always kind of found interesting, and I liked reading what he had to say. So I felt like I wanted to invite him onto our XRP Army News show to give him the opportunity to share his crypto XRP story, so everyone in the community might have a chance to get to know him better. So Yeshua, I'd like to thank you very much for honoring me by coming on to have a friendly conversation with me. And would you like to introduce yourself to everyone?
My name is Yeshua Taylor. I've been in crypto probably since mid 2017, and I have a YouTube channel, same name, Yeshua Taylor, but I haven't posted anything for quite some time. I've just been kind of busy lately. But I'm a little more active on Twitter though.
Gotcha. Well, I know now that you're living in Puerto Rico, and you're the first person from Puerto Rico that I've interviewed. So I'm glad that we're expanding our XRP community to find someone in Puerto Rico. And so, how did you find yourself moving to Puerto Rico, and how do you like it there?
I found myself moving there for a management position that I had and opportunity to start my own business. And right now I've moved over to my own business now. I love it there because the people are very nice. It's very affordable for an island, and it's not too far from home because I was living in Hawaii before, and I'm from the East Coast originally, from Delaware. So to get home, it would be like a 15-hour flight, and I'm a minimum of like $1,000 to fly home, and you lose a day in travel. So um, is just closer. It's a 4-hour flight from Puerto Rico, so it's a lot easier, and tax benefits can't be beaten right now. So that's one of the bigger things that I like.
Right. Well, Yeshua, what is kind of the state of the mentality of crypto in Puerto Rico today? Because I know since you're the first person that I've talked to that lives there now, what seems to be the general sentiment about crypto in Puerto Rico?
I feel there's a mixed sentiment. There is a very large crypto community in Puerto Rico. They actually have their own crypto there called the Coqui coin, which is named after their the frog that lives in Puerto Rico that makes a noise. It sounds like it's but it's basically it's not it's exchange for items instead of people trying to cash out and stuff like that. So you can go to uh, maybe a food truck or something like that and exchange Coqui coins for food and stuff like that. But there's also a large Bitcoin community there. I'm constantly seeing events about blockchain there in San Juan, namely, which is the main city there. And I remember not too long ago, the people behind Tether, they ended up moving to Puerto Rico. They moved Tether to Puerto Rico, and I guess they were trying to make a crypto utopia there, but some of the locals aren't too fond of it. But a lot of people there are. So there's a really big crypto community in Puerto Rico.
So when you first came into the space, were you like 98% of us that I have found is that Bitcoin was the first thing that you found in the crypto space, and then eventually moved into understanding more about XRP?
Yes. So actually, when I first heard about crypto, it was Bitcoin. I was at a New Year's Eve party, and some guy, some random guy was there, and he's like, "Hey, have you ever heard of Bitcoin?" And I was just like, "Nah, I'm gonna walk outside, right?" I just kind of like brushed it off and stuff like that. Um, then I remember in that same house, I ended up moving into that same house where that party was at, and my roommate who owned the house, he told me that this was in 2017 that hey, one of our friends had bought that stuff called Bitcoin, and it just like he bought it like $400 and it just hit $8,000,
Oh,
and my ears kind of perked up then. And
yeah.
uh, and then I sat down and like locked myself in my room for like a week, started learning about it, and I learned how blockchain worked and the cryptography and how the network is secured by mining and stuff like that. And I was definitely intrigued, but I'd say like most people, I wasn't gonna buy a whole Bitcoin at the time or anything like that. So I think I bought like maybe $200 worth at that time. And then that same roommate, he was talking to me about, he's like, man, it's kind of expensive though, you know, it's kind of risky and stuff. I was like, yeah, it is. He's like, well, maybe we'll look for like another one that's not as expensive and has, you know, potential to go up. So then I went back in the room, locked myself in the room for like another week or so, and I watching a lot of videos and stuff like that. And I think the video that I came across that intrigued me the most was by Modern Investor,
Hmm.
and he was talking about XRP, and that was like one of the few videos where he actually showed his face, and he was talking about XRP, and it was basically to the gist of, all right, if you don't think that this crypto is going to go anywhere, okay, you know. And then I remember on my birthday in 2017, which is in late November, November 28th, I bought my first XRP. And I remember telling my dad and my brother, I FaceTimed them, and it just so happened that my brothers were both with my dad at the same time that I FaceTimed my dad, and I was telling them about XRP, and then immediately my dad like went all in on it, and I remember being a little bit jealous because I think it was 27 cents when I first got it, and as soon as I bought it, the price dropped to 20 cents, and then my dad bought it at 20 cents. I was like, I got it at a better price, but that was good though. But then I say maybe 7 days after my dad got his initial XRP, the bull run in 2017 started.
Well, Yeshua, I have had the exact same experience, and I felt snake bit for a good while because it seemed like every time I bought XRP, it would drop 10 cents. And I
Right.
mean, finally, I got some at 17 cents, and then it's gone up. But I mean, I'm not buying anymore. I've got, as far as I'm concerned, I've got as much as I need. If it goes to $5, $10, and then up, some people feel like it's going to be 100 or 1,000. But if we just go to the $5 to $10 range, then with what I hold, I'm good. But did you? Are there any other projects that you've looked into that you believe in, or are you mainly a XRP believer? I'm not a maximalist in any way. And so I do my best to try to find some Bitcoin maximalists that I can interview so I can try to understand where they're coming from. But I believe that this space, if we are moving into a quantum digital economy, there's going to be more than one winner. And
Oh yeah.
I just was interested to find out, from where you are with your experience, are you kind of seeing it that way? Or are you kind of a believer in just one of the projects?
Well, I'm not a XRP maximalist, although I heavily believe that XRP holds the most potential out of the cryptos that I've come across and looked into. I know there's a lot of good projects out there, but I'm not seeing the same momentum towards adoption as I've seen with XRP, though. I'm a big fan of Ethereum, although I don't have any. I'm a big fan of how the blockchain works, and all the coins that they put on there and stuff. And I think there's a lot of potential there. But as far as anything else, I'd say I'm a fan of ADA, and I'm also a fan of Holo, although it's not doing anything at price. I do believe in what they're trying to achieve with their crypto and potential.
Gotcha. And I know you had mentioned to me earlier before we came on that you had some military experience, and I'd like to thank you for your service. And are they having any kind of social unrest going on at all in Puerto Rico, or is that just mainly on the mainland in the U.S.?
No, I say it's mainly on the mainland. So after Hurricane Maria, there was a lot of damage, and I think at this point, the people of Puerto Rico are a little bit used to getting along with each other because of such things happening. And I think there, the society is a little bit more evolved when dealing with social issues than most places that I've ever been. So not too long ago, I think maybe it was early 2019. There was protests there because of the governor of Puerto Rico had was involved in a couple of scandals and talking about the local populace and stuff. And I watched as they did peaceful protesting, and they basically got him out. You know, they basically came from every corner of the island, and they were united in that. And it wasn't just just the common people walking around. It was the police and everybody, actors and musicians who were from Puerto Rico. They flew back and everything. Everybody was united in that, and I think it was a beautiful thing to see. And they they basically got what they wanted because they were united in what they wanted. You know.
And I love the Modern Investor as well. He's one of the first people that I started watching videos from. And I love the way that he gets going on a roll, talking so fast. And
Yeah.
then he will just butcher a word. And then his brain will catch up that, oh, I think I just said that wrong. And then he'll laugh and repeat the word that he just butchered and then just start carrying on again. But he's a very entertaining, enlightening guy. And I think, I think we've all kind of gone down the same similar path. I think we all kind of ran into Bitcoin. And then I think that we all ran into the Modern Investor. And then we kind of branch off into the different projects if we like, what's going on with them. Now, as far as crypto, are they having any issues at all with restricting taking cash or having any coin shortages in Puerto Rico like they are having in the mainland U.S.?
I don't notice any coin shortages, but it's always been kind of big on cashless there. I mean, you can use cash to pay for things, although not recently. They prefer that you use cashless, but it's kind of actually been a big thing there to not use cash. They have a system there called ATH Mobile, where it's kind of where the pay system that you have, you also have an app on your phone where you can transact with one another through the app. That's the same, I guess, company or distributor for the payment system in Puerto Rico.
And has the pandemic? I haven't really seen a lot of news about that in Puerto Rico, but has it hit really hard there? Has it been something really, really horrible going on there as well?
No, I say Puerto Rico is probably one of the best places to be right now because they were the harshest on the lockdown in the beginning. So I think, like I'm a scuba instructor by trade, and I remember I was at work one day, and I remember someone sent me an article saying that, hey, there's about to be a lockdown of all non-essential business. And they're like, that's basically us because, we're not going to be considered essential business. So they said by the next day, which I believe was the 16th of March, they said no non-essential business should be opened. Now, some people took that lightly. And I remember I was doing some paperwork at home, and my roommate, she also runs snorkeling tours, and she went into work, and she told me that the police pulled her and the customers out of the water, and they're like, you can't be here, if you come back, until you're authorized, and you're going to get a big fine. And I got a bunch of friends in the tourism industry. Some were taking people on tours to the rainforest there, and there were cops at the entrance to the rainforest saying turn around, it was really harsh, the curfew that they enacted. So they jumped on it really quickly. So I think Puerto Rico is one of the places that's had the lowest numbers of cases for COVID, and one of the
And
lowest.
so Yeshua, has the economy begun to open back up again, or have they begun to ease those restrictions now, where things are beginning to open up more for the economy in Puerto Rico?
Yes, actively today was the third phase of reopening for Puerto Rico. So everything should be not back to normal, but they're allowing tourism to run in full swing pretty much. There's just guidelines that people have to follow. You're not going to be able to run as many tours because you got to have time in between to sanitize equipment and stuff like that. And but it's starting to move forward in a good manner, and I think that's mainly due to the case that they were so tight on everything from the jump. So they were able to assess what should happen for the reopening the best, because they were so harsh on it in the beginning.
So, did you get into scuba diving and that kind of thing when you were in Delaware, or was that something that came about in your military experience, and then you just decided how cool that was, you wanted to turn that into a vocation?
No, actually, I got into it after I got out of the military. Uh, I After I got out of the military, I kind of stabbed around at a bunch of things that I didn't like, and I was really depressed because I was in the Marine Corps when I was in the military. So there's a strong sense of purpose when you're in the Marine Corps, And then I got out, I just was trying to not be a bum. So I was trying to just do whatever I could, and I just wasn't happy. So I remember one day I was working a dead end like security job, and I was always put on the third shift, because I could keep myself awake at night and stuff like that. One of my friends made a joke. He's like, "Man, let's just move to Hawaii and become scuba instructors." And I remember going, maybe let's look into, and I ended up doing it, and it so happened there were two schools in the U.S. for what's called a Zero to Hero program, where you can go from never having dove before all the way to an instructor. And there was one in Florida, which I had just moved home from Florida the year before that, and I wasn't too fond of Florida. But I was stationed in Hawaii when I was on active duty, and I remembered how awesome it was. So I decided to look into going to the school there, and that's what I did. And I became an instructor there. And very first dive, it was a very big risk because I had never been diving before, but I with it. I fell in love with it on the very first dive. It's something that has become a passion of mine.
I remember watching some kind of a nature show, I don't know, a month or two ago, and they were showing very, very deep, deeper than people are going. I don't even know how they got down that far to film all this stuff, but there is so much life down at the bottom of the ocean that we have not even discovered what these things are yet. And that just blew me away when I saw, they were filming these little creatures floating around that, I mean, we have such a great planet and such a great opportunity to keep discovering things that we haven't found yet. So I'm hoping that big meteorite or that asteroid thing, whatever it is that they said is hurtling towards the Earth, I hope it misses us. And I hope we all end up getting our shit together where we don't off ourselves, so we can keep learning more about, and we can all have a chance to learn how to get along better, instead of all this competition and fighting and all that kind of stuff is just for the birds. Well, if where do you see, in your mind, where crypto adoption is on the planet, and do you feel like that we're going that direction, whether people like it or not? And how far along in that process do you feel like we are?
As far as how far along we are, I mean, I have no idea. There's always, factors that can present themselves that we have no idea about, that can change the way we do things, or prevent us from going further and multiple different fields in life. But I know, for one, what you were talking about the deep in the ocean, about the life down there. And stuff like that is, I remember hearing a scientist talking about, we know more about space than we do about our own oceans and stuff like that. I think we have a little bit easier access to the ocean, but it's always been something that, if you've ever heard Navy SEALs talk about it, where there's what makes people fail in the water portions of SEAL training is because people look at the ocean, especially where they do the training, and they can't see down through the bottom. So it's kind of scary, and it's a mental thing where they can't see, and the unknown factor in your mind. The unknown plays a factor in everything that we do within life, and blockchain and stuff like that is no different. Crypto is no different. There's always unknown factors. I think that's kind of what we're dealing with. Personally, the way I feel we're dealing with when it comes to like regulatory certainty and stuff like that. The government officials in charge of, basically letting the hounds loose don't want to be the ones who screw it up, because they're going to be remembered for that. And if they destroy the economy, then everybody's going to be pointing the finger at them, and they don't want to be those people. But at the same time, I think we're being hampered a little bit. I'm seeing the rest of the world take a major stake in crypto and blockchain, and I think here in the US we're really far behind, and I'm hoping that doesn't last too much longer.
Well, I'm kind of thinking that we're not as far behind as what we're being led to believe. I think behind the scenes they know what's going on. And so do you think that the regulatory, one example of that is Maxine Waters 9 months ago is famously known as being the Bitcom lady.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that way anymore. I think Miss Waters has gotten right back and understands things very well now. And do you think that Bitcoin is going to have a problem with U.S. regulators, because unfortunately the hash rate has ended up being a majority in China?
I think that is, how can I put this? I had done a series of videos on the subject about China and crypto and blockchain, and I titled it "The U.S. and China Digital War," because especially with the president we currently have, he's in big major competition with China. So us hearing about China putting out a CBDC, um, it this is kind of old news, but it kind of came into light recently, within the past year. But it's been a thought in central banks' minds for some time now, since cryptos have come around, that they'd have to compete with the utility of cryptocurrencies. And I think what you said about the U.S. not being as far behind as we think, I think that is true. But I think I need to beat the drum that we are falling behind to get everybody to try to push
Yeah,
things forward.
I,
You know,
I'm with you.
there's
And I, I'm a big, I don't know if you are, but I'm a big Jocko Willenick fan. I listen to his YouTube channel a lot, and I'm a real leadership junkie. And the one of the greatest books that I've ever read is by David Goggins. I don't know. Are you a big David Goggins fans? And his book,
yeah,
"You Can't Hurt Me," is awesome. I I love David Goggins. Roger that.
Yeah, David Goggins is he's a phenomenal human being. I follow him on Instagram, and he's just always moving, always running, and while he's doing it, he's saying something motivational about, oh, this sucks, but it would suck more if I wasn't doing anything, if I would just sit on my ass. So he's a very motivational person. I should read that book. What you said was called "You Can't Hurt Me."
Yeah, can't hurt me. Yeah, and I mean, you and he and Jocko as well. That kind of kind of what they say. Yeshua is you've got to kind of get used to the suck. I mean, it's gonna suck, but you got to get used to it and do something about it. And I really love the military mindset, of leadership that these guys have. That we've got to do something. You've got to do something, and do something positive. And I don't know. I've always been, for whatever reason, always a cockeyed optimist and a glass three-fourths full guy. And no matter how dark or bad things seem, then do something. Don't just sit there paralyzed with the fear. Do something. One other thing that I wanted to ask you as well is since you're in the tourist vacation business, I guess, with your scuba business, did you see any decrease in your business due to the pandemic? Or was it more so that the government kind of slowed everybody's businesses down? I mean, and have things picked up for you and your business now?
Actually, it was a complete halt in my business. So because of COVID and the type of business that I have, they were afraid that it would spread things too quickly. So there's basically no scuba diving and no snorkeling tours were permitted at all. So I had to kind of adapt and change what I was doing to make money in the time being. But since things are starting to open up, I'm gonna end up going back to it. But my sister, she's actually really big into Amazon reselling and arbitrage on Amazon and stuff like that. And she showed me how to do that. And it just so happened that like when everything started shutting down for my business, there was a very big opportunity within Amazon reselling because people were being stuck at home. So a lot of people didn't want to go to the store to buy certain things, and a lot of items for people staying in their homes became scarce. And my sister, found ways to get those items, so we were able to, resell those and make decent profits off of it. So I'm very
Yeah,
thankful.
I'm very familiar with that. I own a digital marketing company, and we mainly focus. We have one of our products is we have an online gathering review tool where a local we're like um, Grade.us or Bird Eye, where we've got a platform where a company can use it to help generate Google reviews or Yelp reviews, Facebook likes, that kind of thing. And right when the pandemic hit, I was like, well, okay, that's not that big of a deal, because now more people are going to be at home. And this is something that we can do to help them understand how important Google reviews are. This is perfect, really, trying to make lemonade out of the lemon. Well, then
Yeah.
Google decided to shut down the ability for people to leave Google reviews.
Wow.
For 2 months, nobody on the planet could leave a Google review. Well, thank God they recently opened that up again. So now businesses can begin to do that. So everybody's going to have to adjust. I mean, we're moving into a mobile and digital world. AI is going to be a big part of what's going on. A lot of these jobs that we've had in the past, there are still going to be jobs there, but it's
Right.
going to be in different kinds of things, blockchain and AI and that kind of thing. People have got to get skilled up on learning how to be employable as we move into the digital revolution. So, so any plans to ever move back to the United States, or you think you're Puerto Rican for the run?
I think I do have plans, but for most part, since I have family in Delaware and I have a business in Puerto Rico, I'll be jumping between the two quite often.
That sounds cool. All right. Well, in parting, is there any message that you would like to send out, to our crypto community and to the rest of humanity in general about everything that's going on right now with everybody? Would you just like to kind of, give your message to the world?
I think if anything, as far as with our crypto communities. I think David Schwartz said it best that as far as the marketplace is concerned, we're all in it together. And I think a lot of people bashing different projects, stuff like that, is not good for the space as a whole. So we should be more supportive. If not, just don't say anything if you don't have anything good to say. Adoption is all. So if anything comes along that, you know, could help that, then we need to be all for it. And the same thing, you know, with life in general. If we don't have anything good to say, we shouldn't say anything at all. So I think now is a time where people are very high strung about anything, and you know, the smallest thing can set somebody off. But we gotta all live on this planet together, so we might as well try it at least long. Yeah.
I think that's a wonderful way for us to sign off. Well, Yeshua, I am honored to have been able to meet you. My desire is to be able to make as many connections with new friends in the community as I can, because after we moon, I believe that for people of like mind, if we decided to connect together, you think about what are the kinds of things can help make an impact and a change in the world. Well, 100, 200 well-funded, like-minded people could probably do some majorly good things if they were connected together. Because
Right.
you've got to have numbers, you've got to have that like-mindedness,
Right.
and it helps to be well-funded. So I'm looking to be able to meet and make connections with people that after the moon, because I'm 58. I've been a salesman my whole life, and
Right.
I can do it. And most people don't like sales.
Mhm.
They don't like getting to that point where you say, well, do you wanna? That they just don't, because they feel, they're wondering if people are gonna, if they say no, they feel it personally rejected,
Right.
instead of it really doesn't have that much to do with it. But I've been able to talk myself into not taking that personally for the most part. So what I mean by that is that I can sell, I can survive,
Right.
and I've done well in my life. But how much of an impact have I really made in the 58 years that I've been here? So, what I'd like to do for the last, I guess, third of my life or so, I'd like to be able to finish off my human experience with seeing how many different lives I can touch in a positive, impactful way. And one of those ways, I think, is connecting with other like minded people. And then we work on things together, because we can send out a louder, more positive message united and together than we can separately. So that's my little dog and pony show.
Well, I agree with that, man. And I definitely appreciate you having me on the show.
Well, and I would like to offer an invitation, as I do to everyone else. What I would like to do is keep this as a regular conversation, even though it might be a month or two apart, but maybe we can get together again in the future, and kind of have a contrast of where we were on July 15th and what's happened since, and catch up and see how things are going. And I had one other thing after we cut the broadcast off. One other thing I wanted to talk with you about. And again, thank you, thank you, thank you. It was an honor and a pleasure. And every single time that I get to have one of these friendly conversations, I'm just blown away by finding people that seem to have a common view and a common understanding about what's going on. And now I can consider you to be in that group of my new friends as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right.